Hello students, I am Esther Rani, Faculty of English, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Today, our class is about active voice and passive voice. When we see the importance of this topic, it is very important even for competitive examinations also. So here, for that sake, everyone must have a very good command over this topic. So here, in this session, we are going to learn what is voice. Basically, what is voice means active voice and passive voice. And next one is what are the basic rules of active voice means what are the rules that we have to follow while changing active voice into passive voice and passive voice into active voice, and how to change or how to transform active voice into passive voice based on tenses that we have. About these tenses already that we have learned in the previous sessions very clearly. So those rules that we are going to apply here. So here, before we start our session, let us go for the objective of this session. Objectives of learning active voice and passive voice are, at the end of this session, students, they will articulate what is passive voice and what is active voice. Means they articulate what is the meaning of passive voice and active voice, how to change them. And second objective of this session is, every student should be able to recognize these active and passive voice while they're writing. While they're writing documents, letters, mails, and whatever that they have in front of them. And third objective is, every student should understand, they must be able to understand how we use these active voice and passive voice in writing. And fourth objective of this session is, every student should be able to change passive voice phrasing into active voice and active voice into passive voice. So, keeping these objectives before us, let us start our topic. So here, before we start this topic, first let us see what is voice. Means, before we start with active and passive voice, before we learn what is active voice and what is passive voice, first let us see what is voice first. So first, voice refers to the form. It's a form of a verb that indicates when subject acts or is receiver of the action. Means subject when it is doer of the action or the receiver of the action. When subject performs the action, when subject performs means when subject does the action, it is in active voice. And when the subject receives the action, then it is passive voice. See here, she sings a song. In this sentence, she is the subject and object is song. Object is song. She sings a song. Here, what is the verb? Verb is sings. It is in purely present tense. It is purely in present tense. Here, she sings a song means she is the subject which stands as the doer of the action. Understand? Means which does the or performs the action. And song which stands as the object which receives the action. Means she sings the song. Song is the receiver of the action. So in this way, here, one more thing you see here in this picture, I have given an example also. What is that example? 3 penguins that we could see here. And one girl is crying. So in this sentence, wild penguins attacked my sister. The sentence goes in this way: wild penguins attacked my sister. This is active voice. This is active voice. And in passive voice, my sister was attacked by wild penguins. My sister was attacked by wild penguins. Here, you may get a doubt. When we have a very clear, accurate sentence here in active voice, why? Why should we change this active voice into passive voice? Everyone will get this doubt. See here, whether the sentence, this one, what I have written, she sings a song, or another sentence, what we have before us, wild penguins attacked my sister. These two sentences belongs to active voice. Sorry. These two sentences belongs to active voice. In this active voice, wild penguins, they are the doer of the action. And my sister was attacked by the wild penguins. Here, my sister is the receiver of the action. Understand? So, as usual, what I said, when active voice is very clear, what is the need to go for changing the voice into passive? Before we see that, I say we have to know one thing. This voice, what we have learned before, the voice refers to the form verb that indicates when subject acts, or is the receiver of the action, which we call voice. It has two forms. One is active, the other one is passive. One is active, the other one is passive voice. So here, why we use, where we use. This is the answer for the question, why should we transform or change active voice into passive voice? See here, passive voice is more common in written communication than spoken communication. This is very common in written communication than in spoken English. So, it sounds formal and even impersonal also. For that reason, often we use this passive voice in, first of all, reports. First of all, reports of crime or legal procedures. See the example what I have given. She was sentenced to death, which is in passive voice. Usually when we see reports, they often go with the passive voice. And second one is newspaper reports. When you turn newspaper, here you see I have given a picture here, newspaper report. What is it? Baby stolen at hospital, which is in passive voice. Even the example here also, the match was postponed by them. The match was postponed by them. Might be in active voice we get, they postponed the match. They postponed the match. That was converted into passive voice by saying the match was postponed by them. Okay. Usually newspaper, when you turn to newspapers, you see, we get like these statements, which comes under passive voice. And even announcements. Let us see here. I have given one picture here. Aircraft, flight it is. Okay. So, even announcements which were given in railway stations and even airports goes in that way. See, for example, here, a flight BA 302 to London is delayed by 2 hours. So, this also comes under passive voice. And even notice. Most of the notices, they carry passive voice only. See here, customers are requested not to smoke. So, when you see this clipping, see here, most of the sentences here, when you go through this clipping more clearly, I have just blurred a few, was burglarized and was broken, was disconnected, and here see. was broken, was disconnected. So in this way, these are were led. The police were led to the suspect, and then here Main Street was burglarized, and then the glass door was broken, alarm was disconnected. So here a crime report says, like all these crime reports, newspapers reports, announcements, notices, whatever that we take, mostly we see passive voice only. Okay, mostly native speakers of English, they go with the passive voice. Now, let us see, first of all, before we go into that, let us see what is active voice and what is passive voice very clearly. See here, active voice means a sentence has a subject that acts upon the verb. Sentence which acts upon the verb we call active voice. Means here the subject is the doer of the action. It works on the verb. Ravi wrote a letter. The verb is wrote. Here I have given V2. We have three verbal forms: V1, V2, V3. V1, V2 and V3. V1 is present tense. V2 is past tense. V3 is past participle. Past participle. Preceded by has, have, had. Preceded by auxiliary verb. Okay. Here, Ravi wrote a letter. Ravi wrote a letter. In this active voice, Ravi is the subject who is the doer of the action. He does the action of writing a letter. Okay, here letter is the receiver of the action. Letter is the receiver of the action. So when we convert this sentence into passive voice, before that, let us see what is passive voice. Passive voice means that a subject is the recipient of a verb's action. Means a receiver of the action. In a simple language, you can say that it's a passive voice means subject is the receiver of the action here. See here, a letter was written by Ravi. A letter was written by Ravi. Here, subject letter, object letter has become subject. Subject has become verb, object, and object will become subject. In this transformation means in changing from active voice to passive voice, subject will become object and object will become subject. Okay. And what about this verb? The verb which will change into be plus, verb will change into be plus V3. B plus V3. This is the changes. See here, before we learn, as I have written in the previous slide, here verb will become B plus V3. What is B here? What are the B forms? Before we go for the change of active voice into passive voice and passive voice into active voice, we have to know what are the B forms. So let us go for B forms here. So usually B forms are of 8. Be, am, is, are, was, were, being and been. Based on the tenses, we have divided these B forms into 8 categories. So first of all, present tense B forms are am, is, are. Present tense B forms are am, is, are. And past tense B forms are was and were. was and were. And continuous B form is a being. Continuous B form is a being. And perfect tense B form is being. And future tense B form is be. So, if we are thorough with these B forms, changing active voice into passive voice will become very easy for us. Okay. And now, let us see a basic rules of converting active voice into passive voice. So, as very clearly I have given in this slide, the rules that we have to follow while converting active voice into passive voice and passive voice into active voice. Rule number 1. As we know very well, every sentence will be having subject, verb and object. Subject, verb and object. So here I gave the sentence, he drives car. He drives a car. So first of all, we need to identify what is subject, what is verb and what is object. Subject is he, verb is drives and object is car. Object is car. So here in the second rule, interchange. Change subject into object and object into subject. So here, when we change the subject into object and object into subject, I have given 2 examples here. See, she knits sweater. She knits sweater. In this, you see, we could see subject, verb and object. Subject is she, verb is knits, object is sweater. She knits sweater. Okay, when we change this into passive voice, object will change into subject. Object will be converted into subject here. Sweater has become subject. Okay, and then knits, she will become object. She will become object. And knits, V1 will become B plus V3. B plus V3. So, the sweater is knitted by her. The sweater is knitted by her. This is the second rule. First of all, first rule is identify what is subject, what is verb and what is object. Second rule is convert or transform subject into object, object into subject and be like a verb into B plus V3. B plus V3. Okay. And the third rule is, that's what we just now we discussed about. Verb will be converted into B plus V3. See here, she cooks food. She cooks food. Let us see V3. This is V1, present tense. This will be converted into B plus V1. Is cooked. B form of present tense is, am, are. Okay. Her, she is the singular subject. So we have taken here is cooked. The food is cooked by her. The food is cooked by her. Now, the next fourth rule is by. What is the importance of by here? Here you see, by before the subject in passive voice. By we have to use before the subject in passive voice. Here you see, hens lay eggs. Eggs are laid by hens. Okay. Sometimes we need not use by also when we get the complete meaning of the sentence. Even if you don't use by also, it gives the meaning of the sentence. But here, before the subject to say, we have to use by. Okay. Keeping these rules in mind. So let us see what are the pronouns. What are the pronouns? Here in the previous slide, we have discussed here, see, she cooks the food. Here in this sentence, she cooks the food. She has become her, by her. So the pronoun also, it will be changing its form. So what are the pronouns that we have to use in active voice? And while converting that into passive voice, the sentence, what pronouns that we have to use? How active voice pronoun will changes into passive voice pronoun? So here the first one is, I will become me. I will become me. The pronoun I in active voice, when we change into passive voice, it will become me. And the next one is, the pronoun we in active voice will become us. The pronoun we in active voice will become us in passive voice. Okay. And third one is he. The pronoun he in active voice will turn into him in passive voice. And the next one is she will become her. She will become her. And the pronoun they will become them. But here, you and it will not change its forms. You and it will not change its forms. Only this you have to remember well. Okay, so after this, let us go for tenses. How these forms, active voice and passive voice, will change according to the tenses. Already we have in previous sessions, see, I just gave very clear picture of tenses, or three tenses, that is present tense, past tense and future tense, and the subdivision of these tenses like simple present tense, present continuous, present perfect and present perfect continuous tense in detailed manner we discussed. If you want, you can go back to our my videos and you can see that. Okay, and then here, even in active voice and passive voice, conversion of active voice into passive voice, these tenses plays a very, very important role. Okay, so here let us see tense wise. Let us first take a present tense. Simple present tense. Form of simple present tense is, as we know, that V1. V1 is the structure of simple present tense. When we change that into passive voice, that will become am, is, are plus V3. Am, is, are plus V3. See the sentence? Sheena does the homework. Sheena does the homework. Here, V1 is does. V1 is does. Does will become am, either am, is, are plus V3. So here the housework is done. Is done. Housework will come under singular number. So we have chosen is. Is plus V3. Is plus V3, past participle form. Do, does, did and done. So past participle form of do, does is done. So is done we have taken here. And subject has changed into object and object has changed into subject when we convert active voice into passive voice. See here, Sheena does the homework. Sheena does the homework. When we convert that into passive voice, it has changed like the housework is done by Sheena. The housework was done by, is done by Sheena. Okay? And coming to the continuous tense. Continuous tense. Here see, in active voice, present continuous tense, the structure goes in this way. Am, is, are. Am, is, are. V1 plus ing. Continuous form this is. Like, Bob is drawing a diagram. Bob is drawing a diagram. Is drawing. Is drawing is a continuous form. Is drawing is a continuous form. So when we change this sentence into passive voice, so a diagram is being drawn by Bob. A diagram is being drawn by Bob. Here, being is the be form of continuous tense already that we discussed. Being is the be form of continuous tense. So here, when we convert this sentence into passive voice, the diagram is being drawn by Bob. If it is simple present tense, is drawn is enough. Because the sentence is in continuous tense, that is drawing a diagram, so we have to use is being drawn. Okay? And next is perfect tense. Perfect tense. Have they left the apartment? Have they left the apartment is the sentence. Negative sentence this is. So, here verbal form is have or has plus V3. Have or has, subject, have, has plus V3 plus object. So, when you convert this sentence into passive voice, has, so here apartment which comes under singular number, we have to choose has. Okay, the apartment has lifted, had been, sorry, as this is the question mark. So, has the apartment been lifted by them? Has the apartment been lifted by them? Has is a singular number. Been is the be form of perfect tense and then followed by V3. Okay. So, in this way, we have to convert the sentence. And coming to the past tense, let us quickly go through this past tense also. See here, under active voice, simple past tense is V2. Structure is V2. When we convert this into passive voice, it will become was, were plus V3. Was, were plus V3. So, let us change the sentence. Ria paid the bills. Ria paid the bills. So, what changes that we see here? Subject will become object. Object will become subject. Okay. Here, the bills were paid by Ria. The bills which comes under plural number, so we have chosen the form of past tense, simple past tense were. The bills were paid by Ria. The subject means subject which has become object preceded by by. Clear? And then next, past continuous tense. Active voice under past continuous tense, the structure goes in this way: was, were, V1, ing. So here also, Ashta was learning French. Ashta was learning French. It's a continuous tense. Was learning is a continuous form. As usually, as we discussed, in passive voice, subject will become object and object will become subject. So, Ashta has become object. Okay. And then French has become subject here. So, French was being learned. Was being learned by Ashta. Was being learned by Ashta. So, even perfect tense also goes in this way. Perfect tense, structure of perfect tense under active voice is had plus V3. Had plus V3. She had won the match. She had won the match. She had won the match. Has become in passive voice. So, here as usually subject will become object and object will become subject. So, the match had been V3. The match had been won. The match had been won by her. Very easy. The one and the only thing is you must be thorough with the structures. If you are thorough with the structures, converting a sentence from active voice to passive voice to active voice is very clear. Very clear. Okay. And coming to the future tense. In future tense, only two tenses, simple future tense and future perfect tense, only we can convert into passive voice and active voice. Why? Because even continuous tense and perfect continuous tense, if we convert also the same structure that we are going to get. Okay. So coming to the active voice under future tense, simple future tense, it takes the structure shall, will, V1 means subject plus shall or will plus V1 plus object. So here see, she will repair her cycle. She will repair her cycle. Will is a future tense. Will indicates future tense. So what be form that we have to select? Be. Be. Okay. So when you convert this sentence into passive voice, as usually, subject will become object. Object will take the place of subject. So her cycle here will be repaired by him. Will be repaired. Will be repaired means shall or will be plus V3 past participle form. Very easy, isn't it? So now future perfect tense. Here in future perfect tense, the structure goes in that way: shall, will, have plus V3. Shall, will, have plus V3 means subject plus shall or will, have plus V3 plus object. Okay. The example what I have given here, Reena will have washed the skirt. Reena will have washed the skirt. So Reena is subject and skirt is object. Object will take the place of subject while converting that into passive voice. See here, the skirt will have been washed by Reena. So under perfect tense, the be form that we get is been. Already we have discussed these be forms. Okay. Under perfect tense, been will come as a be form in future tense. So here, the skirt will have been. So the skirt will have been washed by Reena. Understand? So very clear statements based on the tenses. So far we have learnt how to convert or how to transform from active voice to passive voice, taking tense structures of the tenses. With the help of the structures of the tenses, we have converted from active voice to passive voice. Now, let us see how we can transform or convert a declarative sentence from active voice to passive voice. I think you know that we have 4 types of sentences: declarative sentence, interrogative sentence, imperative sentence, and exclamatory sentence. Now we are going to learn how these sentences will be converted into passive voice also. The same rule only applicable here, but with a minor changes. When we get such sentences, we'll be in dilemma how to convert these sentences into active voice, passive voice. Understand? Here see, let us take the first example. Usually the structure goes in that way: subject, verb, object, and object complement. When the sentence is followed by object complement, how to change the sentence into passive voice? So here, a very good sentence that I have given, sentence liked by everyone. Okay. Cinema lovers call Amitabh Big B. We have this sentence, a famous sentence. This is cinema lovers call Amitabh Big B. So this sentence is in active voice because here we have subject, verb, object. Okay. Subject, verb, object. So what is object complement? Big B. We call him Big B. This is the complement given to the Amitabh Bachchan. So how to convert this sentence into passive voice? So object will take the place of subject, as we know, isn't it? So Amitabh is called Big B. Amitabh is called Big B by cinema lovers. Okay. Here, while converting this sentence from active voice to passive voice, we get a doubt. Usually, when we write a sentence after after name, after elected or selected, we have the habit of writing as. Called as, named as, elected as. Usually we have the habit of writing as followed by called, named, elected, selected, all this. But it is a grammatically wrong expression. Wrong expression. Here is Amitabh is called, usually we write called as Big B. No, this is wrong. Very important thing that we have to keep it in mind. Amitabh is called Big B by cinema lovers. That is right expression. Okay. Even in the next sentence also, they named their child. They named is a V2 form. They named their child Sai Kumar. They named their child not as Sai Kumar. Sai Kumar, that's it. So, here, this is subject and child is object. Okay. So, while converting, the child was named Sai Kumar. Named as is wrong. Named as is wrong. The child was named Sai Kumar. That's it. Okay. And the next sentence, we have elected Lakshmi, the leader of our class. We have elected Lakshmi, the leader of our class. Leader of our class is a object complement. Object complement. As like a Big B, object complement, and then Sai Kumar, object complement. Okay. So here see, we have elected Lakshmi, the leader of our class. So when we change this into passive voice, Lakshmi has been. Has elected is a perfect tense. Past perfect tense. That will be changed as a has been elected. Has been elected. Has been elected the leader of our class by us. Sometimes even if we don't write by us also, the meaning is understood. Okay. The Lakshmi has been elected the leader of our class. So, declarative sentences which are followed by object complement, in this way we have to convert. Is it clear? Let us go for interrogative sentence. Usually, as we know, interrogative sentences are of two types. One is interrogative sentences started with the pronouns, interrogative pronoun, and interrogative auxiliary is the second type of interrogative sentence. So here, interrogative, a question started with interrogative pronoun. First of all, what are interrogative pronouns? What are interrogative pronouns? What, which starts with a WH. What, when, where, which, who, why, how, etc. These are called interrogative pronouns. So, in a sentence which started with a interrogative pronoun, how to convert them into passive voice? See here, who wrote this book? A question started with interrogative pronoun, who. Even when you convert that into passive voice also, the sentence starts with the same. By whom was this book written? By whom was this book written? Okay, here as usually, the book takes the place of subject and then as followed by the rules. And by us is not necessary here. Okay, the meaning is understood. And the next sentence is, what did he say? What did he say? Interrogative pronoun what we have used here. What did he say? Did, which comes under past tense. Past tense verb has changed in the passive voice as was said. Be plus V3. Be plus V3. Okay. What did he say? What was said by him has become, he has become him. Right? And then another sentence started with whom. Whom did you invite? A sentence started with a interrogative pronoun whom. Whom did you invite? Did is again past tense V2 form. Has turned into was be form plus V3. Be plus V3. Okay. Here whom has converted into who. Who was invited by you? Who was invited by you? So, when the sentence in active voice start with interrogative pronoun, even in passive voice also, there is no change. Okay? Passive voice also, it started with pronoun only, interrogative pronoun only. And what about interrogative auxiliaries? So, interrogative auxiliaries are do, does, did, can, could, have, has, had, may, might, etc. These which comes under interrogative auxiliaries. Even am, is, are also which comes under interrogative auxiliaries only. So when you get interrogative auxiliaries in passive voice in the question, will you help me? Or will you help him? Will you help him? So here also, interrogative auxiliary only, the passive voice also will start with interrogative auxiliary only. But here, subject and object will changes its places. Rather, in interrogative pronouns, we don't see this. Okay? So, will he be helped by you? You has converted into object. Him converted into subject. So, will he be helped by you? Okay? In that way, you have to change the sentence. Coming to the next sentence. Did she recognize you? This is past tense. Did she recognize you? So, be form of past tense is where. Be form of past tense is where. Were you recognized by her? She subject has changed into her. You into you. As we learnt, it and you will not change. Okay. So, she recognized you. Did she recognize you? Will become in passive voice. Were you recognized by her? Were you recognized by her? Okay. And the next sentence. Can anybody cure it? Can anybody cure it? So here the question started with interrogative auxiliary can. So can anybody cure it? Here can which comes under future tense. Can which comes under future tense. So can it be cured by anybody? Be cured. Be form of future tense plus V3. Can it be cured? Can it be cured? Is enough. And additionally, even if you add by anybody also, it's not a problem. Okay. And the last sentence here. Do you like Carnatic music? Do you like Carnatic music? So here do, which comes under present tense, V1 form. Do you like Carnatic music? So what are the B forms of present tense? Am, is, are. So here we have taken is. Is Carnatic music liked by you? Is Carnatic music liked by you? So in this way, interrogative sentences of interrogative pronouns and interrogative auxiliaries, how it takes change from active voice to passive voice. So far we have seen. So the next one is imperative sentence. What is imperative sentence? Imperative sentence means a request, a suggestion, an advice. Okay, so we call imperative mood this is. So when you have a sentence in a imperative mood, how to change the sentence? The structure that we take in passive form is let plus object plus be plus past participle. So here is it. Carry it home. If you get a imperative sentence like carry it home in active voice, when we change it into passive voice, we have to go through the structure of passive voice. That is, let it be carried home. Let it be carried home. Okay? And then do it at once. Do it at once. Let it be done at once. Here we couldn't see that subject will change into past, like a object, and object changes into subject. Let it be done at once. Be done, which comes under be plus V3. Okay? And then open the door. Open the door. Let the door be opened. Let the door be opened. And even another form of changing this is you are requested to open the door also we can write. Okay. Throw the ball. Throw the ball. Let the ball be thrown. So such imperative mood sentences will be converted into passive voice taking the structure let object be past participle. Okay. So here, if you get a negative sentence, like do not beat the dog. Do not beat the dog is a negative sentence. Okay. When you have a negative sentence in front of us, we have to take the structure of let object not be past participle. Okay. Let the dog not be beaten. Let the dog not be beaten. Okay. And the next sentence, next one. See here, the sentences which expresses some sort of advice, request, or like an order, command. So even in this way also we can change into passive voice. See here, a sentence with a advice. A sentence with advice. Respect the elders. In active voice, if you get a sentence, respect the elders. You are, in the passive voice, you can start the sentence like, you are advised. Because this is an advice given to the youngsters, saying, respect the elders. So here you see, you are advised to respect the elders. You are advised to respect the elders. And if it is a request, please help the poor. Please help the poor. You are requested, because this is a request. You are requested to help the poor. You are requested to help the poor. So, and a sentence which comes under order or a command. Open the door. Open the door. Okay. Let the door be opened. Let the door be opened. Okay. Even nowadays, you see, nobody will accept if we order or if we command. So in such case, we can say you are suggested or you are advised to open the door. You are asked to open the door also, you can write. Guys, did you understand? What are the changes that takes place while converting active voice into passive voice and passive voice into active voice based on the tenses, 12 tenses that we have in front of us. When we discuss all these tenses, you see, all the tenses that we haven't taken, like present perfect continuous tense, we didn't deal with. Past perfect continuous tense also we haven't taken. And future continuous tense and future perfect continuous tense also we have omitted. Out of 12 tenses, only 8 tenses can be converted from active voice to passive voice. Okay, even if we try to convert also, almost the same expression that we get. That's why we need not convert those 4 into from active to passive voice. Okay, so far say we have learned all the tenses, all the sentences from active voice to passive voice, how to convert. Learning transformation from active voice to passive voice is such an easy task when we learn proper structures. Even when we discussed tenses also, we have taken proper tenses to convert from one tense into other tense. Present tense to past tense to future tense. We have learned so easily. The same like a family we have applied here. When you have a sentence before you under active voice, first of all find out in which tense that it is. What is the subject? What is the object? And what is verb in which tense that verb is in? And go for the changes. Active voice must be like a subject must be converted into object, object into subject. And the verb must be changed into be plus V3 form. And before subject, before the subject which has become into object, before that we have to place by. So following these rules, if you take the help of the structures of the tenses while converting active voice into passive voice, definitely this topic is very, very easy. Okay. Thank you, ma. Thank you, students, for being with me the whole session. Thank you. Let us meet in the next session. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.